Falling Stars by Playcrowd 5610. Chapter 9. Signature located. Summary. Who sent that distress signal? Soundwave stood in front of the monitors, his expressionless visor reflecting the events playing in front of him. It was something Soundwave had seen countless times before. Megatron towering over Starscream, his rage palpable through the live feed. The Seeker backed up, glancing around, clearly looking for an escape. Soundwave knew he wouldn't find one. Tell me, Starscream, how long do you intend to continue this charade? Soundwave continued watching, naturally. Starscream had been caught in another lie, another scheme. This much was obvious. It happened many times. The Seeker never learned. Starscream nervously responded, pretending he didn't know what Megatron was talking about. Normally, Soundwave was prey to Starscream's schemes, with the number of times the Seeker would explain them out loud or make his plans patently obvious. Soundwave was surprised that Megatron had discovered the Seeker's plan before Soundwave did. That was until my Decepticons whisper behind my back, all to hide something from me. That made the third in command pause. Soundwave was, in fact, prey to this information. Soundwave was, in fact, helping to hide the information. Megatron found out about Danny. Starscream rumbled more, wings betraying his fear by pinning down as he stumbled back. Soundwave felt a sudden pulse of concern. Would Starscream sell out Danny to save himself? It wouldn't be unlike the Seeker. Soundwave had already started scanning through the cameras of the ship through his visor, keeping them open on the side of his visor as he searched for Danny in case he needed to ground bridge the human off the Nemesis before Megatron went looking for him. But Starscream kept claiming he had no idea what Megatron was talking about. Lie. That he had nothing to hide. Lie. That he wasn't lying. Lie. Megatron's servos launched out, grabbed the Seeker by the throat. He lifted him off the ground, demanding again. Megatron thought it was a mutiny. Megatron had decided that the Decepticons planned to rise against him, and Starscream was the orchestrator. And Megatron, in order to try and feel power again, decided to simply attack his favorite punching bag to gain some semblance of power back. Cameras still flipping through his HUD, still no sign of Danny. Megatron dropped Starscream on the ground, and the Seeker scrambled back, desperate to get away, only for Megatron to slam his PD down on his knee. The Seeker screeched in pain. Soundwave flipped through cameras faster. He wouldn't have much time. After Megatron was done with Starscream, he would move on to his next mech for answers. And while Starscream seemed to be able and willing to keep Danny hidden, Soundwave didn't trust that some of the Veticons would be able to keep the secret. Danny was last seen in the medbay with Starscream and Knockout. Last seen with Starscream? Starscream backed more, and Soundwave turned it out, focusing on the cameras. He brought up his files on Danny's biology, finding his unique energy signature saved in his internal database. Soundwave attached it to his search of the Nemesis, running a scan over the whole warship. Soundwave received a ping. Signature located. Soundwave looked at the room the signature was discovered in, and his processor stalled. He was in the control room with Megatron and Starscream. Could he be in Starscream's subspace right now, while everything was happening? What would happen to him? Even Starscream wouldn't be that reckless to bring a fragile human to what he surely knew would be a punishment. Still, Soundwave immediately returned to the control room feed, hoping to scan Starscream's frame for the human's life signature. That was until Megatron viciously wrenched Starscream's wing off with one service. The energy signature suddenly flared, and a flash of green light that almost blinded the cameras slammed into Megatron's frame, knocking him off balance. Soundwave didn't know what direction it came from. Soundwave's optics widened under his visor. The figure floated in front of Megatron. Soundwave scanned it. Signature match. It was Danny. Shock flared through Soundwave's normal silent EM field. Danny started firing blasts at Megatron, darting around the room easily. Soundwave knew the human was not normal, but this? That Megatron yelled in outrage, raising his fusion cannon and aiming it at Danny. Soundwave realized what was happening a second too late. The blast fired, and Soundwave's spark stalled. Sharp, visceral pain and horror seeping into his struts. He was frozen. Danny moved to the side quickly, but the blast hit his left arm, causing him to hiss in pain. Soundwave instinctively scanned over him, scanning the burn. It was bad. The instinctive need to rush in and grab the human overwhelmed Soundwave, and in an instant he was at the door, commanding them to open as fast as possible. Suddenly, out of the corner of his optics, he saw flashes of green. He rolled back around to stare at the monitor. 1 second, Danny was floating. The next, he was grabbing onto Megatron's shoulder plating and wrenching it off the Warlord's arm. Not unlike how Megatron had done the same thing to Starscream's wing mere moments ago. Soundwave stood frozen in the doorway, watching the monitors, as Megatron's arm landed on the ground with a resounding clang. Soundwave could feel Danny's protective EM field from the 3 doors down. The whole ship might have been able to feel it. It was smothering. Before Soundwave knew it, Danny was standing on Megatron's chest, with the mech on the ground. A horrifying, threatening sound resonated from him. If you ever touch him again, you're going to lose more than just your arm. The human snarled. Danny paused for a second before he spun around and rushed over to Starscream's side. The Seeker was rapidly losing Amerigon. Megatron stood up behind Danny and started towards them. Soundwave instinctively tried to send a ping to Danny to tell him to turn around, like he would with Laserbeak, but Danny wasn't bonded to Soundwave. He couldn't sense messages, couldn't feel his fear, his panic. Megatron raised his PD as if ready to step on the human, but instead of colliding with him, Danny and Starscream both fell through the bottom of the ship. Megatron's PD landed with a large metal clang, followed by a yell of anger that could be heard all across the Nemesis. Soundwave immediately switched camera views and saw Danny and Starscream barreling through the sky. Panic filled his EM field. All of his uncontrolled emotions must have awoken Laserbeak, because he could feel his minis' concern flood Soundwave's processor. What's wrong? Are you okay? Soundwave? Soundwave ignored the Minicon's ping through their bond. Danny and Starscream landed beneath the Nemesis, hidden in the forest below. Soundwave's scanners immediately switched for life signs. Much to Soundwave's relief, Danny shifted before pulling himself up and rushing to the Seeker's side. Soundwave shifted his attention, scanning Starscream. The damage was severe. Internal Amerigon lines broken. Critical systems offline. His wings severed. The Seeker was barely conscious, bordering on offlining. There was no way the human could manage this alone. He saw on the feet as Megatron started storming towards the doors. Soundwave may need to confront him and convince him to go to the med bay, rather than go after Starscream and Danny. Soundwave pushed himself away from the monitor, pulling up the feet of Danny and Starscream on the corner of his visor, in his peripheral vision. Just as Soundwave made it to the hallway, the control room doors were wrenched open, likely not opening fast enough for Megatron's liking. The mech limped out of the room with heavy stomps, fury flowing off his frame, his empty shoulder socket trailing Amerigon behind him. He raised his service up to grip the joint to try and slow the leaking, optics overbright with rage. Soundwave turned, standing silent as the warlord approached. "Soundwave!" Megatron thundered, his voice loud enough to force Soundwave to adjust his audio receptors. "I want every drone out there searching for Starscream now! Bring him back here and anything else that is with him. I want them alive so I can take care of them myself." Megatron shoved past him, his massive frame radiating unrestrained anger. "I'm going to the medbay. Bring my arm." Soundwave nodded before walking towards the control room Megatron just left from. It seemed Soundwave didn't have to convince Megatron to go to the medbay after all. It seemed Danny had damaged him enough that he might not even have been able to transform and go after them, even if Megatron wanted to. Soundwave glanced back up towards the camera again. Danny's frantic movements over Starscream's battered frame filled the screen. Soundwave's spark launched again at the faint sound of the human's cries through the recording. He wanted nothing more than to go down there and bundle the human up in his service. But he couldn't. He had an order to follow through with. "I want every drone out there looking for Starscream now." The Veticons wouldn't hurt Danny. They cared about the human as much as any other mech on this ship, if not more. And Danny wouldn't fight back against the Veticons. But the Veticons will follow Megatron's orders. Danny wouldn't leave Starscream, which means he would come willingly with Starscream. That much was certain. But Soundwave knew Megatron's intent. The Warlord wanted his prey back. Both of them. Soundwave couldn't let that happen. He watched Danny, now scrambling to Starscream's chest, trying to pry it open. Soundwave scanned the Seeker again. A few of the lines attached to the spark chamber had disconnected during the crash. He was losing Amerigon fast. Soundwave knew Starscream would not survive. Danny would be devastated, and the Decepticons would be without a second in command. All because Megatron couldn't keep his temper down for a few minutes. Soundwave thought about ground-bridging Knockout down there, but Megatron was on his way to see him about his arm. He would know something was up. No, Soundwave needed another medic. He needed the Autobots. The Autobot savior complexes would make them help Starscream, and the Autobots were known for their love for their pet humans. They wouldn't harm Danny. Danny would be safe. And when Starscream is healed, they returned to the Nemesis. Starscream would beg Megatron for forgiveness, and Megatron would give him back his position, just like he always does. Soundwave searched for the Autobot comm line and sent a short, encrypted message. "In need of immediate medical assistance. Human in danger. Come immediately." The coordinates followed. With any luck, the Autobots would assume Starscream sent the message. Soundwave searched the cameras for where Megatron was, still limping towards the medbay. Soundwave needed to buy Danny and Starscream more time, while the Autobots received the message, debated whether it was a trap or not, and decided a human life was worth the risk before ultimately deciding to check it out, likely with their medic. Megatron had commanded that the Veticons search for Starscream, but it didn't mean that Soundwave couldn't point them in the wrong direction. He sent a command to the Veticons. Objective: locate Starscream. The order was simple. It would buy time. He opened a ground bridge in front of the troops, ensuring it led just far enough away from the Seeker's crash site that the Autobots would intercept Danny and Starscream before the Veticons could. Every variable had been accounted for. Soundwave opened the door to the control room, ignoring the sickening screech of the dented metal as it tried to slip back into the wall. He suddenly stepped over the spilled Amerigon that was smeared on the ground. Claw marks and blaster burns etched into the walls. His gaze fell on Megatron's severed arm lying among the wreckage, the Amerigon pooling beneath it. Soundwave scanned the severed limb. Once satisfied, he extended 2 tendrils, raising it gingerly, and turned towards the medbay. Knockout would need to reattach it before Megatron's rage boiled over further. If Megatron injured Knockout, there would be no medic to fix him. He looked back to Danny and Starscream again, trying to tune out the human's bagging that edged its way into his spark. The Autobots will make it in time. They need to. And that was the chapter! I hope you liked it. If you did, leave a like and subscribe and... Wait, no. Yeah, if you like my videos in general, subscribe and share. That was right. Other than that, I make podfics, as you can see. And you can commission me for podfics. Infos to that are like on the screen or in the channel description. If you do commission me, you can also get early access to my Discord server, where you can always be more aware of what exactly I post next, or, you know, listen to what I am like reading live. I have put the fan art to this specific chapter into the video itself, where it is supposed to be, where the scene is playing. So if you want to see that, just like re-listen or look around in the video and you will probably find it. I'm also giving you one highlight mistake in this video, because I have made multiple mistakes here, but it's I don't know. I did not feel like making the whole highlights today or so. So you just get one mistake take out for this video. Here you go. Soundwave search the cameras for okay, I think I said that wrong. Have a nice rest of your time, and see you next time.